Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 1020 to 1021 for the 9th to the 10th of December. There is also the latest information in frontline changes from the 11th of December, which is today. So this is the latest information report. So for those commenters that like to say, "Yo, your report is a few days. Oh no, you're always late." Yeah, just stop scamming yourself. No, it's bad for health. Anyway, don't remember to press the like button if you find the information useful, and subscribe if this is not the first time you watch this video. And of course, if this is the first time you watch this video, don't press subscribe. Like, don't press. Like, it's bad for health. No, don't press. So anyway, let's start off with KURSK front. So over at the KURSK front, we have some major updates, particularly over in the southern flank. The southern flank have went to shit for the Ukrainians. The Russian forces have broke through in this area here. Russian forces have confirmed by the Ukrainian mapping to have captured most of Blakovo already. And there is geolocation of Russian forces basically inside of Blakovo. They have taken the forest in the south of Blakovo, as well as penetrating into Ukrainian territory towards Alexandria. So this is a massive update. The Ukrainians continue to claim certain parts in the north of Blakovo, but this is also changing as the latest mapping seems to suggest that they are like feeling, like no, they feel a bit shy about making the claim. They immediately today in the latest report that was published around I think 12, so maybe 5-7 hours ago. They detracted some of these claims, and Russian forces also made advance in the west of Fanasievka. And if you look at the grays, if you see the deep state US mapping, you'll see that the Russians are actually already pushing Kurilovka. If you look at the gray zone that they mapped, the Russian Defense Ministry reported that they are going for Guevo. Fighting is reported in the region of Guevo. So this entire region is just terrible now. But the Ukraine is likely to hold a strong defense around the Sel River. So I don't think this is going to be a big problem in the short term, unless they actually don't have the manpower to deal with this Russian onslaught. So this is the southern flank. Otherwise, the Russian forces are pushing Cherkasskaya Konopelka. This is part of the offensive in the Fanasievka region. And we move further up to the main counteroffensive region, which is not so main now, I think, given the breakthrough in the south. Russian forces are pushing at Martinovka in the eastern flank, and then Novaya Shorokina, Malaya Loknia, Viktorovka, Nikolsky, Leonidovo, Novoivanovka, Lebedevka, Svetiklovo, and Nikolaevo Darino. The Ukrainian counter-offensive operations or counter-offensive actions towards Novoivanovka and Darino did not happen. It's not reported. It looks like the Ukrainians are on the back foot right now in the KURSK front. I think it's probably something to do with the situation in the southern flank, that they may be redrawing certain troops to be redeployed towards the southern flank, because if they don't, it's going to get really bad in the KURSK front, as the Russian forces will be penetrating into the Ukrainian territory, and they could potentially, cause massive havocs in the southern sectors, and make the entire KURSK front look like a stupid thing, because Sumy is actually not that far. So that's all from the KURSK front. We move into the Kharkiv front. At the Kharkiv front, we have nothing over at the Kazacha-Lopan sector. The Russian forces is mainly concentrating their actions over in the Lipsy sector at Klipoke, as well as Lipsy. Shelling is reported at Veliko Prokhody. So this sector is like this. Over in the rest of the sectors, we have fighting reported at Stadisia as well as Voschansk. Nothing particularly special coming out from these regions. That's all. We move on to the Voreshna front. Charlie is reported at Andrievka and Rikokup. There's fighting reported in the region of Voreshna, according to the Russian Defense Ministry on the 9th. Geolocation of a Russian airstrike, a FAB bomb hit Voreshna, was geolocated. And over in the Kupiansk front, fighting is reported at Kupiansk as well as Petropavlovka. Nothing special about this region. We move further south. Fighting is reported over in Khrushchevka, Kolonivskivka, Zarizove, and Lozova. Geolocation of Ukrainian forces east of Krylyakivka does confirm that the Ukrainian mapping is actually more accurate. Actually, I forget to make this I need to do this now in case I forget. This area here is invalidate Russian claims. So Krylyakivka, Russian claims invalidated. Yeah, so that's how I do it. And yeah, so everything you see on screen, yeah, is typed manually like this. No, yeah. So we move further south. At the Borova sector, or the Borova front, Russian forces are fighting at Lozova, Zeleny High, Kopanki, Nadri, Novoyehorivka, and Cherneskaya. So that's all. Potential salient in this sector, but no, not very significant at this moment. Further south, in the rest of the Sverdlovsk front, we have fighting reported at Druzhlyabivka, Horakivka, and Makievka. So again, strategically, it's the same shit. And over in the Crimea front, Russian forces are fighting at Terny, Yampolivka, Zareshny, Torske, as well as Terebiansky Forestry. Strategically, also, nothing have changed in this sector. Over in the Sivas front, fighting is reported at Verkhovokayamsky. It's reported by the Russian Defense Ministry on the 9th. Over in the Bakhmut front, and in the northern central flank, we have fighting reported at Orikovo-Vasilivka, Novomakorve, Chasivya, as well as Tuposhki. So the Orikovo-Vasilivka is mentioned in yesterday's the 10th report, and we have fighting reported at Novomakorve as well. So there is some things happening around this sector, but tentatively not much we know about. Bilahora was mentioned as well, not important. Over in the Toretsk region in the New York front, Russian forces are fighting in the region of Dilyevka, Toretsk, and there's some updates, of course, in the front line in the Zabalka region and Toretsk, Skibinevka, which is just next to Nelidivka, as well as fighting reported at Nelibivka. So there are some major updates regarding Toretsk, with the Russian forces continue to make advance. This is based on Russian claims. Based on Russian mapping, they have advanced, they have closed all the salients in the Toretsk region according to the Russian mapping. So this is the situation in this Toretsk region. So we shall continue to monitor the situation in this sector. Moving into the Pokrovsk front. So this is the Pokrovsk front. At the Pokrovsk sector, fighting is reported over in Mariolubivka, Khorodevka, Promen, Minokhrad, Lisivka, and the Chansky. And just next door, in fact, we have to start to change the name of these flanks, because the Russians have made the front line totally so different that, yeah, at the Turkey front, I'm not even sure how I'm gonna do this, man. Okay, so Russian forces are now pushing in the direction of Pokrovsk already. They have captured almost the entirety of Shevchenko, with major fighting over there. Fighting is reported at Virozhenia. The Chensky, Lisievka, as mentioned earlier. The entire southern side of Zeleny was captured, which is in the north of Rakhorivka and Petrivka. So Russian forces made some major captures around this area. Fighting is moving towards Pischane. And the Russians have almost fully captured Novotroitsky. Fighting reported south of Novopustinka, and they seem to be progressing without much resistance. And that's all from in some changes in the west of Pustinka. So Russian forces are pushing in all these various directions. Geolocation of all these Ukrainian vehicles getting hit by FPV drones and whatnot. So the Russians are definitely making they're basically blowing out from this front. They Popasna-ing out of this area here. So this is a significant changes in this area, and Ukraine seems to struggle to hold the Russians in this sector already. As I mentioned previously before, the main target right now is probably the highway. In this highway that's leading to Zaporizhia. This is the major highway. The previous two objectives, this highway and this highway, is already taken by the already like cut off by the Russians already. So this will be the next one. This highway should be taken next. In the further south of this position, as mentioned, fighting is reported in the direction of Novo-Olenivka. Russian forces also captured most of Pushkine already as they push west of Yurievka and Pustinka. In the south, Zoria is almost fully captured, with the Russian forces continuing to advance in the direction of Slovianka. So that's it. As we continue to scroll down, we go into Kurakove's front. So this is part of Kurakove's front at the Russian forces on the verge of full capture of Sonsevka, and they have also closed the salient south of Voznesenka, and then some slight advance within Kurakove, which I think I will zoom in to see. Fighting is reported at Stary Terny as well as Dashny, which probably coming from Stary Terny. So this is the strategic situation in this Kurakove front, and we need to zoom in. At the Kurakove Battle of Kurakove, Russian forces have some advance in the north as well as through the south. And in this region, the Russians are flanking rear of this this high-rise zone, which the Ukrainians may be using it as a fortress, or which might explain the slow advance by the Russians in this region here. So the Russians are now doing this the rear flanking operation, and this cut off the Ukrainians from any reinforcement or retreat. This is basically an operational encirclement at this sector. As you can see, the Ukrainians, this looks a little bit like Voleda. So the Russians have taken all of the outskirts, and they have penetrated and probably taken the southern corner, the southwestern corner building. So if you're Ukrainian, there's no retreat route anymore. You are now encircled. So this is the current situation in the south of Kurakove. And we moved into the Uspenivka front. We have fighting reported at Dazhny. Uspenivka, which coming from both sides, is a pincer. Russian forces captured most of Trudove. If not, they have conquered Trudove. They have entered into Zelene High for the first time. And there is also updates, Russian claims of the capture or at least major advance over Romanivka. Russians are now pushing Konstantinopolsk. Shelling is reported at Yatarane, and fighting is reported at Sukiyali, with advancement in the eastern part of Sukiyali. And geolocation of Russian forces southwest of Darny, showing the Russian advance in this sector. So Uspenivka front surprisingly held way longer than I thought it could. So this is the situation in this sector. We will continue to monitor, of course. And in the western far end, we have shelling reported at Ulakli. Russians are pushing Constantinople as well as Rozliv, with major frontline updates in the south of Rozliv, mapped by the Ukrainian mapping. As the Russians continue to consolidate this front line, I believe the aim is to straighten the front line in the south of Rozliv. And we move into the vertical Novosilka sector. So in this region here, Russian forces are attacking towards Novo-Ocheretine. Shelling is reported at Dnipro and Akhia. Fighting is reported at Velika Novosilka, Blahodatne, towards Vremivka, towards Neshkushne, towards Sterizove, Makarivka, Rivnopil, towards Novosilka, Novodarivka, and towards Zelenopole. So Velika Novosilka is now a major offensive region. The offensive operation here is super intense, and yeah, it's just yet another front line that the Russians are focusing a lot of effort in, and it's really a ramping up of operations that I think the Ukrainians is going to struggle more and more and more and more. Over in the Zaporizhia front, we have some updates of fighting reported at Malatomashka, Novo-Andrievka, and Pyatikaki. Geolocation of Ukrainian forces at Kayamsky, not important, but there is an important one, which is Robotyne. And at Robotyne, Russian forces geolocated in a new position, signaling the Russian advance and invalidation of Ukrainian claims in the northwest of Robotyne. So this is the first frontline change at Robotyne in a very, 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 very long time. So I wondered if this is a signal to a major offensive operation in the Robotyne region, but tentatively let's watch and see how this continue to play out. And we move into the Kherson front. At the Kherson front, fighting is reported in the Pokrovsk direction or the Dnipro direction. But it's not important because we generally have no information on where the fighting is. Shelling is reported in the sector at Dniprovsk, Antonivka, Kherson, as well as Dniprovsk. So some major shelling. It looks like the action is mainly around Kherson. So that is the main gist of the strategic situation in the Kherson front, and that's it. So this is the situation report or the summary for the day of 9 to the 10th of December for the day of 2020-2021. So thank you for watching. Press the like button, subscribe. And I know these reports are really dry. And I appreciate people do continue to watch such a dry report. This is as close as it could be to I think a military style report without going into units, because going to units I don't think it's meaningful to you because you are not working inside the military. There's no need for you to really know too much about the units, although I also don't cover it because it's just a lot of effort that makes zero sense. So just to share a bit, the Ukrainians have a lot of units and they keep on developing new brigades and new battalions. But the problem is that most of the existing brigades and regiments, they are all undermanned. Because of losses, and they are unable to fill up the ranks as well. Even as they go to the rear to try to replenish the manpower, they usually don't get full manpower. There's probably almost no unit in Ukraine have full manpower. So when you talk about units, it makes it sound like really cool. So many units are involved in a single operation, but the reality is that they are all a small fraction of what they are, and a lot of them don't really have the kind of equipment that they should have. For example, if you call themselves a mechanized unit, but they actually have no armored vehicles, there's no tanks. So then, yeah, what kind of mechanized unit is that? So that is the main problem. That's why I don't cover units. I think it does. It's a lot of work for very little sense making. So which is why I don't do it. But otherwise, if you take that aside, I think TPS SITREP is probably the closest thing to a military style situation report, which is meant to be pretty boring. Yeah. So anyway, thank you for watching. Press the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next update.